Morning, this is Brian. Today is Wednesday, December 18th, 2025, and I'm parked here at the East Mesa staging area here in Cuyamaca Rancho State Park. Plan today is to get up towards East Mesa. That's my plan for today. And my plan is to hit East Mesa Peak 5178. So what I'm planning on doing is connecting with the East Mesa Fire Road. Should be just a little south of where I'm parked at this huge pullout here. There's the sign for the East Mesa staging area. And I'm going to try to head out in the direction of Granite Springs Primitive Campground. But before hitting that, I plan on branching off left on a single track trail and visiting East Mesa Peak 5178. If time, energy, and willpower persist, maybe another slightly higher peak called East Mesa High Point, which is also East Mesa Peak 5185. So it's just on a very short stretch of the East Side Trail, maybe about 50 yards. So I'm joining this here, the East Mesa Fire Road. So we can join a couple different things here. Lower Descanso Creek Trail, which is not my plan. I'm also not planning on taking the Oaks Anita Trail. Granite Springs, I guess I don't know if that's the campground or the springs itself, is a healthy 4.5 miles away. So I'm probably looking at close to a 9-mile hike today. Close to a 9-mile hike, I believe. My turnoff's going to be shortly before it. It's going to be before the campground, that's for sure. But I forget if the campground is before or after the actual Granite Springs. So this is going to be Fire Road most of the way. We're starting at an elevation of about 4,000 feet, roughly 4,000 feet. And if all goes well today, I'll end up at 5,178 feet. So depending on how many undulations along the road or the trails, I'd say it's going to be close to 1,150 feet, maybe 1,200 feet elevation gain, depending. So we'll see how this goes along the fire road here. I'll see you on the next clip, and we'll see what the scene's like today. Yeah, right at the trailhead, it was a nice, cool, probably low 40s, and up here, it's jumped up to just a slight elevation gain, jumped up to near 50 degrees up here. So, actually expecting a high, potentially as warm as the low 70s, which is extremely warm for this time of year. Around here, should be, I believe, in the 50s, low 50s. So, it's going to be close to 20 degrees above normal. Where I live, it's actually not supposed to be that much warmer than here. Where I live, it's supposed to be in the mid 70s. I think 76 was the forecasted high. But this has been the warmest December I can ever remember in my life in Southern California. It's been extremely warm, sometimes downright hot. crazy. Last week I didn't go out. It was just too hot, and I didn't feel like driving far out to the mountains. So even had to run the air conditioner last week, which is insane. December. See, most places in the northern hemisphere, January is normally the coolest month of the year. In Southern California, typically it's December before the peak of the winter season. For some reason, December is typically the coolest month of the year. So November was cooler than December for the most part. And it was rainy. This has been very dry lately. Alright, enough yapping. I'm working my way up this fire road. Looking up towards Oxanita Peak. Did a hike up that back in April 2023. It's another great hike here in Cuyamaca Rancho. So, alright, see you up the way. Alright, a little short update. Just a little bit in, not too far in. We're joining a small little wooded area, mostly southern coast live oak here. It's our inland higher elevation variant, Quercus agrifolia variety Axiodania. Starting to get some of those mixing in here. After a short uphill bit, we're going very gently downhill right now. So we're heading into this valley, and I must have dipped below the inversion layer. The temperature's gone down again because I've gone down maybe about 30 feet in elevation. It doesn't take much for the temperatures to change drastically when you're in these cold air drainages. So it's gone back down, I think, to the mid 40s. It's nice and cool, very cool morning. And what do we got here? Here's a trail junction, which I'm not going to take. I'm going to continue straight. But this is, oh, the lower Descanso Creek Trail joins up from here. You can also access this from the Oxanita Peak trailhead, the Oxanita trailhead. Which actually, it comes from the trailhead over to here. So you're on the trail. If you park at the Oxanita staging area, which would be the Oxanita Peak trailhead, normally you'd be coming this way to briefly join the East Mesa Fire Road, which I did when I did the Oxanita Peak hike. So most people who are hiking Oxanita Peak typically come from that direction there at the small staging area, or you could just as easily park at the East Mesa if that area is full. Come over to East Mesa. As I remember last time when I did this hike, I was on East Mesa for a very brief stint, and I remember this massive southern coast live oak right here. I remember this tree from the last time. This thing is huge. This thing's a really old tree, and it's got an absolutely gargantuan trunk, or set of trunks joining at the base. Each of these individual stems would qualify as a pretty decent sized coast live oak in their own. That is just really just a beautiful tree. Maybe when the lighting's a little bit better, I'll get some pictures of it on the way back. But you also see that tree featured on my Oxanita Peak hike from 2023. So yes, we're going to be coming up with that next junction, which will be the upper trail that leads to the Oxanita Peak Trail a ways up. If you were doing the peak Oxanita from the Oxanita staging area. It's a short walk on this fire road, very short walk, and you'll see a trail branching off, and when I come up to it, I'll show you if you're planning on doing the Oxenita hike. I think I already see the posts for the trail junction, so see when I'm there. Alright, so not even a full minute later from my last check-in, there's the Upper Descanso trail right there. So the Oxenita Trail is a 1.5 miles from here, and it's just under 2.25 miles from here trail-wise to Oxenita Peak up there. But I'm not going to Oxenita. Again, my plan is to hit East Mesa Peak 5178. So I'm going to continue along this for quite a while. And we got the scrub oak complex picking up here. Cutadens or Berbertifolia. I really need to get a good magnifying lens so I can look at the trichomes or the hairs on the leaves to be able to tell you what species I'm seeing. But then we got chaparral whitethorn picking up here too. Ceanothus leucodermis. Point leaf manzanita. Arctostaphylos pungens. Also picking up here. And I see some white sage up ahead. We got some white sage popping up here too. Some a little bit closer to the trail or the road. Very beautiful. And gonna keep on climbing. See you on next clip. Just want to show you how beautiful this stretch is here. Beautiful coast live oaks. Yeah, this canyon here is very beautiful. No doubt about it. Very beautiful here. Now the sun hasn't risen over that wall of the canyon there. But I suspect on the way back, it's going to be a pretty warm stretch of trail. There's a lot of white sage on the trail, which there was a little short distance back. You can guarantee this is pretty much a sunnier south-facing or southeast, southwest-facing slope. Has a more southerly exposure, so you know it's going to be warm later. But boy, is it breathtaking out here. A lot of these oaks are recovering very well, or have been recovering very well over the last 22 years since the cedar fire. So yeah, this is really nice. It's starting to look nice and wooded over here again. All right, let's see what else lies ahead on my journey today. Okay. Coming up on another junction, which we're not going to take. This is the California, oh no, the Oak Trail to the Harvey Moore Trail. Not taking this junction here. Staying on the East Mesa Fire Road until further notice. And I'll keep you updated on that as well. All right, so we're about to hit the first switchback of the day, which is going to lead us up this way, as you see here. So yeah, there's Oxenita Peak. And there's some random summit over there. Peak 4960. It's got an elevation contour of 4,960 feet. I'd like to try to climb that one day. I was curious about it when I climbed Oxanita, but it would be definitely an off-trail bushwhack and probably pretty thick chaparral. I was thinking about trying that one day. Next time I'm in the neighborhood of Oxanita Peak, I was thinking about maybe trying that. What I would do is I would probably go up to the south between Oxanita and Peak 4960 and look for for a lesser brushy route going maybe up the south slope of it, perhaps. Probably on the other side of the saddle, just to see if I can minimize it. Because I looked at Google Earth imagery from recent, I think 2024, and there was a slightly less brushy route possible up the south side. But again, I haven't done it, so I can't tell you for sure. Now we're getting a good view of Cuyamaca Peak too. That high peak in the center. Second highest peak in San Diego County. And then next to it is Hopashaw Peak. The last time I did Cuyamaca was back in June of last year. I tried to get up to Hopashaw, but I just couldn't locate a viable cross-country route to get up there. Every little poke and prod I took led to a 10-foot wall of canyon live oak chaparral. Yeah, it just wasn't happening. But yeah, so maybe next time I do Oxanita Peak, I might try to see if I could find a cross-country route to get up to that peak there again, 4960. It's not even listed on Topo. It's not on Peak Bagger. It just has an elevation contour of 4,960 to 5,000 feet. And Google Earth showed the elevation of the highest point I could find is about 4,983 feet. So that could be a possible attempt in the future. We'll see. Would like to at least try it and see how far up it I get. It'd be an interesting adventure here in Cuyamaca Rancho. All right, away I go. Got a lot of climbing, a lot more to go. All right, so we're back in the woods again. Very beautiful here. We got our first California black oak of the day. It's hard to see, but this leafless tree right here, surrounded by its relatives, a coast live oak. Yeah, the first California black oak, Quercus kelloggi of the day. We're near the winter solstice, so pretty much leafless. Since there's coast live oak and California black oak here, makes me wonder if there could possibly be the hybrids between the two, which is the gander oak, Quercus ganderi. It's a possibility. That was the only black oak I've seen so far. Coast live oaks and California black oaks are both red oaks, and they can and do hybridize. So where they grow together, keep an eye out. They'll probably be either evergreen or semi-evergreen. They'll maybe shed some of their leaves, very few of them, or maybe none at all. So here's a California black oak. Just got a couple dried up leaves left on it. So I'm wondering if gander oak could possibly be found around here. I'm gonna keep my eyes for that. If I see it, you'll see it. I'll keep you updated, and we'll see what else happens. It's a very beautiful walk here. Not steep. It's uphill for the most of the part. A couple small downhill and even a couple level stretches, but it's a very easy road to walk so far. Very gradual elevation gain. Yeah, we got more black oak popping up. Definitely got to keep an eye out for that gander oak. See if I find some today. I very rarely come across it. I've only come across it in Palomar Mountain. I think both Cleveland National Forest and the Palomar Mountain State Park, where Southern Coast live oak and black oak grow very commonly with each other. So we'll see. I'll keep you posted. All right. We still have little fall foliage left on the California rose. Rosa californica. Very nice, very nice. So a little fall color left on it. A lot of the willows and stuff that are in the canyon are still mostly covered in yellow leaves still. Again, willows go leafless much later than most of our other native shrubs and trees. And paired with the fact that it's been basically feeling like late spring to even early summer this month, doesn't surprise me. Look at this canyon. There's the north rim of the canyon. That's towards the mouth of the canyon. And of course, Oaks-Anita Peak forms one of the parts of the south rim of the canyon. And of course it continues towards the saddle between Oaks-Anita Peak and 4960. We made another switch in the trail. It's heading towards, right now, heading towards Oaks-Anita. I don't think we're gonna reach the saddle. Probably gonna bypass it to the north. So I don't remember seeing the fire road that close when I took the trails to get to Oaks-Anita. But we'll see where this goes. I can actually see the Oaks-Anita trail cut into the chaparral on the northeast facing slope of the peak. All right, here's my first poison oak of the day, Toxicodendron versalobum. So just be careful, just be sure you know what it looks like in all seasons before you reach out and touch any pretty branches you might see. All right, gonna keep on doing this. It's warming up. Now we're climbing out of the valley, or the canyon. As we're climbing out of the canyon, we're climbing above the inversion, or into the inversion layer where the temperatures are gonna warm up. And starting to really get some beautiful canyon views of the canyon I've been ascending pretty much this entire time I've been on trail. You can see the oak woodland I ascended on the way up here. There's all that beautiful woodland right there. Now we're climbing out of that and into the chaparral, and we'll see what else comes my way. That's up towards the peak 4960 area up there. I don't think that's the actual summit, but it might be. But not that far from it. All right, see you up the way. I think I came across an Engelmann oak here. Yeah, I got a small Engelmann oak. I don't really see a lot of these here at Cuyamaca. There's always a possibility. There's always a possibility this could be Quercus acutidens, a hybrid offspring, whose parent, 1 out of 2, is the Engelmann oak. But yeah, this looks like an Engelmann oak. Could potentially be an acutidens, but more likely an Engelmann oak. I don't really come across a lot of that, at least not in my experiences in the park. There's still a lot that I need to explore, but I hate to get the sun glare going, sorry about that. But starting to get Jeffrey pines. Looks like Jeffrey pines are starting to pop up as we head out. That's looking southeast. So might be, yeah, we might have a little bit of conifer action, I think. Especially as we get closer to East Mesa. Might have some pine tree action, so that'll be kind of nice. Well, I'm out in the sun now. And just a nice carpet of chaparral here on the East Mesa Fire Road. See you along the way. Got a little hoary coffee berry out here. Got a few specimens. Frangula californica tomentella. It does occasionally pop up here. Has a fair amount of this too. Rus aromatica skunk brush popping up here as well on the East Mesa Fire Road. Actually, quite a bit of it's quite abundant. All right. Ooh, look at that shot. Golden sun glowing through the medium green of the coast live oaks. It's a pretty nice scene. All right. Well, time to keep on trucking. All right. Next botanical point of interest. Western chokecherry is popping up here too. It's winter, so it's leafless, but there's a nice population of it here in this side of the canyon. I mean, yeah, it's hard to see because they're pretty small and bushy and backed by the darker green chaparral shrubs. But all these leafless ones are California black oaks. So we're starting to get more of those as well. So, yeah. This black oak still has leaves on it. That's crazy. It's crazy to still have leaves on it in December. Especially in the second half of it. But we're at a lower elevation. I guess it happens. But yeah, we definitely got a nice population of Prunus virginiana variety demissa growing alongside the East Mesa Fire Road. All right. I'm gonna get the sun glare in your eyes. It's kind of in my eyes, so I kind of have to look down while I'm walking. But I'll see you along the way. Look at this enchanted grotto. Oh, whoa. Man, this is gorgeous. What we got here? Red willow? Yeah, we got some red willow. Yeah, the red willow still has leaves on it. Yeah, look at that. How beautiful is that? So we still get a little bit of late fall color. The Southern California has so much different so many different elevations. You can visit various times of years and get fall color. Obviously, the higher up you go, the earlier. But look at these really tall chokecherries right here. That's a really tall western chokecherry. Here's another black oak. I got a lot of western chokecherry here in this beautiful canyon. Here's a beautiful little black oak sapling. So yeah, we're getting more black oak popping up. So I'm really hoping to see some gander oak. Because black oak and coast live oak are really meeting up a lot. Wow, this is incredible. This is incredibly beautiful. All right. See you on my next update. Who knows what's going to come up next? This is incredibly beautiful hiking. Ooh, a California scrub jay. Right at the brows of that deciduous oak tree. probably hard to see, but it keeps flying around. Yeah. Very, very beautifully colored bird. Yeah. Of course, it's on the other side of the tree, so I can't really get a good shot of the bird. Phelocoma californica obscura. And that's another one calling off in the chaparral. All right, well, back out in the sun. It's warming up quite a bit up here. So I wonder if we're heading for that notch over there. We'll see. Some pretty big point leaf manzanitas too. Some more Arctophilus pungens. I don't think that's it there. That should not be it yet. But I think my turnaround destination should be off above that ridge there, I think. Could be a little further than I thought, I don't know. Can't tell. I don't think I've actually been able to see my destination yet. But we'll see. Alright, time for the sun to be in my eyes again for a while. Alright, away I go. Wow, look at these black oaks. This is definitely a resprout from the cedar fire. So after 22 years, look at how big this one's gotten. This thing's getting up there already. You can see its old trunk from back in the day, from over 22 years ago. And in 22 years, this thing's really shot up. Wow, that is beautiful. I like when they get multi-trunked. I like when our oaks are multi-trunked. I don't know, just something satisfying about especially when they get big and multi-trunked. They're just so satisfying. You typically think shrubs when you think of multi-trunked shrubs, but most of our oaks here in Southern California can actually be quite large, sometimes giant oaks. They can become giant trees and still be multi-trunked like shrubs. And a lot of it's due to the fact that they can shoot up stems from their root burrows. And that's how they often resprout after fire or other damages. They can resprout from the roots. That's why a lot of our oaks are actually multi-trunked, despite some of them being absolutely massive trees. We do get some huge oaks here in Southern California. See that? That was pre-cedar fire. That thicket in the middle is from the same root system. So that's a resprouted oak after 20-something years. So we're getting a lot more black oak now. We've gone up in elevation. We're definitely not at 5,000 feet yet. I don't think we'll get to 5,000 feet till we're off of the road, I think. But, man, it's an incredibly beautiful hike. Still looking up for that gander oak. We'll see. Starting to get our first up close of pine trees today, like Jeffrey pines, young Jeffrey pines, starting to show up now. So we're getting our first pine trees of the day. As I was showing on some of the earlier imagery out towards the southeast, there was a little bit higher ridgeline that had some growing. So yeah, we're starting to get some now. Most likely a lot of these were probably planted by the state park or by volunteers to get the conifer trees reestablishing here. But yeah, we're starting to get some pines. We're slowly but steadily ascending step by step. There'll be definitely more trees up ahead. Well, we're reaching the pines now. Getting some more pine trees. Yeah, look at that nice Jeffrey pine right there. That's a Jeffrey pine. I think this one's a Coulter. I thought I saw a massive cone in it. That's a Coulter pine right there. Wow, cool. Now we're meeting up with the pines. Started to see more pine cones on the ground. So we're getting to some trees that survived the cedar fire of 2003. There's a lot of sun glare, but yeah, we've reached a small little copse of Pinus Jeffrey. Again, some of these younger ones are actually Coulter pines. Like this one here, that's a Coulter. That's a Jeffrey. You can tell by the size of the cones in these trees. These look like all Jeffrey pines right here, these taller, more mature trees. It's nice to be around some pines again. Very beautiful, very beautiful. Nice to see them again. All right, I'll get a picture or two and keep marching upward. Here we go. More Jeffreys. A lot of these, a lot of young ones here that have flourished. Now we're coming up to, looks like a junction. So I've come, I guess, just under 3 miles. This is 2.9 from the highway. Okay, here's the Oxanita Trail. So I haven't quite as gone as far as I thought I have. This is the Oxanita Trail. Oxanita Peak, just under 1.5 miles from here. But I've never entered the Oxanita Trail from this end here. So this will take you to Oxanita Peak. Okay. Still got quite a ways to go to Granite Springs, but like I said, I'm thinking there's going to be a trail that branches off to the left. So I'm going to keep looking out for that. So yeah, it's very beautiful area. Yeah, these pine trees, both Coulters and Jeffreys, are really doing very well. Very, very happy to see that the pine trees are really growing. This area will be, I don't think it'll become that dense forest it used to be probably back in the day. I don't know, maybe this area was never a dense forest. Parts of Cuyamaca were very densely forested, especially near Cuyamaca, Middle, and North Peaks. That area used to be much more densely forested. This might have been too, I don't know. I've never been over here before the cedar fire, so I wouldn't know from personal experience. If any of you who are watching this video have hiked towards East Mesa before 2003, let me know. Let me know if this area used to be a woodland or an actual forest. I get the impression it was more of a woodland, like it is now, only more open since the fire. But if any of you have been in this area along the East Mesa Fire Road before the 2003 cedar fire, let me know what it was like here before. All right, well, I'm gonna keep on trugging along. There's Cuyamaca Peak. I think that's Oxanita right over there, poking out above the ridge. That should be point 4960, peak 4960. Again, Oxanita seems to be popping out over there. I saw a bump over this way, which I don't think is East Mesa. It looked more like Chaparral. East Mesa has Chaparral on it. East Mesa Peak 5178 has Chaparral, but it also, I think, has a smattering of trees dotting around it as well. That'll be what I'm going to be trying to seek while I keep ambling out this way. All right, I'll see you along the way for more updates. This is an extremely beautiful hike. Basically, ever since I crossed that junction with the Oxanita Trail, it's just been a basically more or less flat traverse. We're coming to this granite outcropping here, just off to the right. And unfortunately, what I want to show you is in direct line of sight with the sun. But I'm going to try to see if I can do this. Right over there, I believe that's Sug Peak. That high bump towards the center. That looks like Sug Peak over there. I was wondering what that was for a while, but I was thinking, yeah, Sug Peak is not super far off from the super far away from the East Mesa Fire Road. I mean, you have to do some cross country to get over there. And I don't know if you would do it from here, East Mesa, or for some other trailhead. I just know of reading about Sug Peak, and there, I believe that should be it over there. And maybe one of these days. It's just under a mile high in elevation, 5,246 feet, I believe. And there's a small subsidiary peak next to it. I want to say Sug Peak Northwest or Sug Peak West or something, which is a little bit lower. But yeah, and we're in a pretty easy, very gentle traverse. So far, the level of this hike is in the maybe the low moderate, because there's some distance to hike. It's not exactly a small walk in the park, but I don't think I haven't even gained 1,000 feet yet. And I've been going on for about 3 miles now. 3 miles one way. And I haven't even gained 1,000 feet, so. I have not encountered one extraordinarily steep section along this hike. We get a little heart rate going up here and there, but it's a pretty easy walk. Very gentle fire road. You can see out towards the Laguna Mountains, out to our east-northeast. That's the Laguna Range over there. And I can see the more Jeffrey pine coverage up there. That's a little bit higher up than where we are now. But yeah, we are getting more pines mixing in. More of these gorgeous Jeffrey pines. Some of them are getting a little bigger too. I love having pines around. Pines and conifers. And took a little doing, but I'm out by them. I want to say, not 100%, because there are two peaks relatively nearby each other that are close to the same elevation. One of them is peak 5178, East Mesa point 5178. There's also an East Mesa point 5185. I don't know if I'm going to be going for that second one. I highly doubt it. But I think that over there, I think that knoll might be my destination. Right over there. Now, I will have some off-trail travel to get to the top of that. And probably some bushwhacking at the end. Because the high point is in the chaparral. But it's not too far in the chaparral from what I saw on Google Earth. So it might, from what I've read, it's supposed to be an easy bushwhack. But it was from a trip report back in 2011, I think. So who knows? That's it's been a long time. The brush might be back by now. But yeah, beautiful out here. All right, I'm just gonna keep on working my way along this, and we'll see what comes up next. Beautiful rolling terrain out here. Alright, so we're about to come up to a junction here. Let's see. Fire road continues straight ahead. Grass trail to the Harvey Moore Trail. I believe I'm supposed to take this junction. Or I'm supposed to. If I want to not go all the way to Granite Springs and backtrack. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and see if this leads me up to where I intended to go. So we're on the grass trail to the Harvey Moore Trail. So my intuition is telling me to break off the fire road and get on this single track. Let's see. So this is the grass trail. Let's see what happens on this trail here. I think I'm starting to catch sight of the peak. There's a knoll right over there, which should be it. Yeah, so I'm not super duper far away. I smell the pine resin in the air. Yeah, that's a fragrance that I always love having around. There we go. Some more spotted Jeffrey pines out here. This looks like some more dormant chokecherry thickets over there off to my left. You can tell we also get some beautiful southern mule's ears growing here. Now, I learned it as Wyethia ovata, but I think on iNaturalist it's Agnoriza ovata, I believe. I'll have to double check to see if there's been a change in the taxonomy. You get some wonderful views over there, the Laguna Mountains just off to our east. We're getting close to the eastern end of the Cuyamacas, where the Cuyamacas, I guess, end and gradually turn into the lagunas. I'm not sure exactly what the delineation is between these two mountains. I think what it is that there's a pretty high valley, a relatively high valley, lower than this, but there's a valley, a shallow valley between the East Mesa area and so forth. All right, so I am approaching I believe I'm approaching the peak, but I don't know if this is it or not. There's another high point over there. So this might be a false peak, I should say, a false peak. So I kind of have to check it out. But that over there, I don't know if that's higher than this. I'm going to be looking at my progress. That might actually be it. Because I have a plan. I think I'm going to join, I think it's the Harvey Moore Trail. And I think I'm actually going to go a little away from it. And I'm going to look for what looks like either a used trail or faint path next to a gully on the other side of the trail. But I can see a little wooden sign up ahead that indicates to me that I'm about to join the Harvey Moore Trail. Okay, so I'm joining up with the Harvey Moore Trail. That was a pretty quick 0.3 miles. So, intuition is telling me, based on what I saw on Google Earth, I'm going to branch off to the left. Ooh. Thought I heard a brewer's blackbird. Kind of makes a interesting warbling sound. Alright. So I'm not going to Dyer Spring, but I am going to go along this for a short distance. I'm going to look for a gully, and I think there's a faint use trail branching off what would be to my right. So let's see if I can make the connections. Otherwise, I'm pretty close. I'm trying to minimize the amount of cross country, but we'll see. Alright, so I'm just about at this gully I saw on Google Earth. I think this is it. It should be the gully. Let's see. There's actually a wooden post here too. So this is where I'm going to leave the Harvey Moore Trail, and this is kind of where the cross country begins. I think there was a faint track that heads up this way, if I remember seeing it on Google Earth. And then eventually I'm going to have to completely break off just to hit the high point. So when you see this wooden post, this is where I'm leaving the path. Right in this grassy swale right here. So I come a short distance on the Harvey Moore Trail, and I see some relatively open terrain here. So this is where I'm going to go start up towards East Mesa, peak 5178. Just going to follow this. Well, I think there's a pathway over here actually. Yeah. Here it is. Here's the use trail. Completely missed it. So, the use trail, yeah, you see that wooden sign, a little wooden, not wooden sign, there's nothing written on it. See that wooden post? Break off of it, turn right, and just follow this trail on the right side of the gully. Like I said, I'm trying to minimize the amount of time I'm off trail to minimize A, impact, and B, it's just better to be on trail when you can. I try to limit my off trail to when I actually need to do it to get to my destination. We got a use trail here. It's faint, but it's followable. Very followable. Like I said, it goes on the southeast side of the gully. It looks like it follows a swale up towards the trees. Now when I get towards where the trees are, is when I'm going to have to break off and do the rest of my ascent to the peak. So I'll see you up there. So this trail really kind of fades out before you get to this bush right here. So you can either just follow this little culvert, what do we got here? What kind of coffee berry is this? It's like a Sierra coffee berry, I think. No, it's still a Hori coffee berry. So we start on that use trail, that little faint one. You keep going up and up it. You notice this little bush sticking out over the gully. Aim towards that, and just keep following this culvert. I think we've run out of use trail, I think. Unless it's on this side. Let me see. No, see, it picks up again over here. I can see it. So aim for that little shrub. When you're on the trail, you see that shrub, aim for it, because the trail's gonna peter out for a while. So aim for that shrub that's kind of leaning over the trail or the pathway. And the use trail picks up again over here. Eventually what I'm going to have to do is aim off to my right to ascend the peak. And let's see how this goes. Okay, so it's really faint again, but if you look carefully, you'll see a little divot in the grasses and forbs. So what I'm going to do is, when I start getting towards these oaks, this is where I'm going to start contemplating my ascent. Because I know there are going to be some spots of thickets and stuff like that. So I'm thinking maybe over here, either here or past this little knoll here. You'll see a swale of California black oaks, and then you'll see this small knoll right here. I'm thinking I might leave the trail right past it. I think it's where I'm gonna leave it and go cross country to the top. So I'm trying to minimize the amount of trail. Interesting thing is, when I got to that knoll I pointed out, it opens up quite a bit. So I'm wondering if I got to go for that or this over here. Looks like there's a high point over there. Over there, actually. I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to check this out. I don't know if I'm supposed to be on this for an extremely long amount of time. Seems to be a peak over there. I'm not sure if it's higher than that. Might have to split the difference between the two and try to see if I can estimate which is higher. There's some higher terrain over there too. Just gotta remember that Jeffrey Pine is gonna be a landmark on the way back. I still think it's gonna be up there. Let's see. Might have left the trail too late, actually. It's all brushy over there. I think my high point's going to be over there. So I might be leaving the trail a little too late. Might be getting into some bushwhacking. So, let me see. Trying to see what the terrain looks like. I do see some chaparral up there. I'm supposed to be able to avoid it just about 95% of the way up. Your last 5% is going to be some bushwhacking. So, let's see. I'm going to backtrack a little bit to that knoll. Let me call it that. So I've been backtracking quite a bit. Here's that small knoll I was going to try to circumvent and try to approach from that side, but that's going to be more of a north-facing slope, which means very high likelihood of running into a pretty gnarly bushwhack. So I'm thinking, you can tell I'm already past that pine tree that I was going to use as a landmark to get me back. But I think I'm going to use this swale here as my new departure point. I don't really want to end up bushwhacking a heap ton in the chaparral. Really don't want to do that. So I'm thinking maybe, I don't know, maybe I don't know if I could split the difference between the oaks. Alright, so I'm going to leave about here. So right there is the knoll, a little mini knoll. There's the Jeffrey pine. I think I'm going to start up this way here. So I'm going to be heading east-southeast right now and see if this will be a viable option to get me to peak 5178. Let's see. Since I will be partially on a north-facing slope, I will have to contend. I will have to keep a lookout for poison oak growing in between the black oaks. So I'll have to see what's going on there. But other than that, keep you posted on my progress. All right, so working my way up this a little bit. Found looks like a game trail right here. Probably a deer path. Yeah, I see deer hoof prints. So I'm gonna follow this game trail a little bit. So my route, my map may not be the exact way I came up, but it should be pretty approximate. Because right now, I'm heading south-southeast, judging by the position of the sun. We're near the winter solstice, so we're near the furthest south where the sun will be in the sky. But so far it's just grass and a couple of small logs. Grass, herbs, a couple small logs, and a bunch of little game trails. But they seem to be heading away. So, keep you posted. I know I still have some work to do. Not there yet. Hopefully soon. Well, I'm gonna have to reroute. I almost unwittingly walked into a patch of poison oak. So I'm gonna have to reroute this. Yeah. It's a good thing that I'm usually good at picking this stuff out when I'm hiking. I just saw poison oak. Oh, it's all over here. Ah, yeah. That's another thing about hiking up a north-facing slope that had me a little concerned. Yeah. There's a bunch of low-growing poison oak all around here. So this is not what I wanted to be doing. see if I can bypass it. But yeah, there's more of it over here. Actually, yeah, there's a lot of it. Yeah, this is not the way I want to be going. I'm gonna have to duck out of this. I'm gonna have to get out of this. Yeah, this is not where I want to be going. All right, better carefully walk my way out of here. All right, so I'm using this as my landmark for when I do my maps. This little pile of rocks here, and my little shrub that was leaning over, that small hoary coffee berry that was leaning over the trail. I'm actually pretty close to that. I'm going to try to see if I can backtrack a little bit and try to go up on the south-facing slope. Hopefully avoid poison oak. Yeah, I was about 10 feet away from thrashing through it. So I'm going to get back on this little track. Yeah. That's not what I want to be doing right now, is bushwhacking in poison oak. Kind of figured it would be a possibility on that north-west facing exposure there. I'm going to try to go past and try to see if I can leave the trail a little further back. This is my other landmark for going back the other way. So I'm actually going to go back a little bit more. Stay up here on this. Yeah, this is a little more followable here. This is a game, looks like a game trail as I see deer hooves. All right. I'm going to try to stay out of the oak woodland because we are in the elevation where, like you saw, poison oak's still growing. Normally, once you get a few hundred feet higher, above 5,000 feet, usually it drops out. Except near Cuyamaca Peak, of course. A couple of my videos see me plant poison oak on Cuyamaca. Alright, I'm gonna try going up this. I'm gonna try leaving here. So I'm gonna be just a little bit before the leaning bush, the leaning shrub. So I'm gonna try going up this and see if this will be a better alternative. Let's try this. Alright, so far I've been heading again roughly southeast in the, general direction of the sun, and on a much drier, grassier slope. Flanked on one side is a coffee berry, and by a patch of rocks right over there in the center. So far, this is doing better. Got some brown spine prickly pear. Put the accompany. Now, just got to keep navigating these grassy slopes. Just keeping an eye out. So far, so good. Eventually, I think I'm going to end up turning left. I got to debate whether I'm going to bother putting the tracks for my mistakes. I might just show you what I've done to get where I'm trying to go. Looks like there's a game trail here. Let's see. Let me see. As long as I can avoid poison oak, I'll take one challenge at a time. between those shrubs there. Now I'm heading northeast. Again, it's mostly grass and buckwheats here. Not too bad. Haven't had any issues now. Keep it posted. Come up quite a ways though. Yeah, I've got a lot of Hori coffee berry up here. A lot of it on this slope here. Pretty interesting. Like I said, I'm taking my time through this section to make sure I don't have any unpleasant plant encounters. Normally, you could consider how much of a plant lover I am. You know, I'm thinking, unpleasant plant encounters? How could that be, Brian? Well, something that could leave a souvenir behind, an urushiol rash from the essential oils of the poison oak. That's what I mean. All right. Let's see. So got a little ways to go. I think it's going to be up there. I'm pretty sure that's going to be it. Well, let's see. It's beautiful up here, though. A lot of some nice oaks up here. I got some other scrub oak up here now. Quercus cornelius Muelleri. Yeah, Quercus cornelius Muelleri is showing up here. Okay, let's see. I'm still heading roughly northeast. Trying to see if this will be the key to getting where I'm trying to go. Well, I'm heading uphill to a consistent uphill grade, so that definitely means something. Now, let's see. Trying to head up for there. Where I'm trying to head. Alright. Being careful. Looking around at my surroundings. I think I might have a clear shot. At least until I get to the chaparral. When I get to the edge of the chaparral, that's a whole other challenge, but taking one challenge at a time. Avoiding poison oak is this challenge, and navigating towards the peak is another challenge. Once I get to near the summit, then I'll worry about the bushwhacking. Till then, picking up another game trail that's heading in the direction I'm trying to go. Here's a plant I really don't have to worry about. Skunk brush. And it's related to poison oak. And it looks a lot like poison oak. But it's not. So, not too worried about that one. Okay. See you up, hopefully near the top soon. Okay. So I'm just about to enter the chaparral portion, aka the bushwhack part. Alright. Get past this small California black oak here. And we start entering the bushwhack. First of all, and we do have some interior live oak up here. Some shrub interior live oak. Quercus wislezenii, ready for Tessins. First one I've seen all day. Okay, now, time to wiggle around to try to find the summit. Oh yeah. I don't know if I should have approached from here. Don't know. I might have to look around. Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely not going to be an easy bushwhack going through there. Don't have to look around. Yeah, I think the hardest part of the hike is getting my way up there. See if I can. So I'm going a little bit left of where I originally was going to enter the chaparral. So I'm going around the interior live oak thicket I pointed out before beginning my bushwhack. So now I'm entering through this area of fallen branches. Gonna see if this will serve me a little bit better. Hopefully I can find my way through here. Definitely a shadier site, so I'm definitely gonna be on the lookout for poison oak. Okay, one type of oak, a true oak. We do have an oracle oak up here, Quercus morehus, which is the hybrid of the interior live oak and the California black oak. So that's pretty cool. We got an oracle oak up here. Cool. Yes, we do. One parent, California black oak, fully winter deciduous, leafless in winter. Shrub interior live oak, Quercus wesleyani, ready for tessins, fully evergreen, with more California black oaks above it. The parents of Quercus morehus, the oracle oak. I wonder if I'm going to have to call it a summit below the actual peak. I wonder. I might have to. This looks gnarly. This does not look easy. Yeah, it's been a long time since that trip report was written. But yeah, look at that. Quercus morehus. Wow. How beautiful is that? Another oracle oak. I'm trying to think, is it the first one I've seen at Cuyamaca? I've seen it at Powell Mountain, and seen a lot of them in the Laguna Mountains nearby. Once you get California black oak and interior live oak, and here being the shrub interior live oak, yeah, it's a nice, decent sized shrub. Almost the size of a small tree. And you can tell, like I said, the black oak's fully deciduous, leafless in winter. Shrub interior live oak is evergreen. So you can tell this one kind of threads the needle between the two. Some yellow fall leaves, and a lot of green leaves that are going to stay green. So yes, and like the interior live oak, a little more leathery, but like the black oak, some slightly lobed leaves. Let's get some pictures of this. All right, as for summiting this, I don't know. I'm going to go around the other way. I'm going to go back to the right a little bit further and go around and see if I can find a more southerly route. If not, I'm going to take a provisionary summit selfie up here. I might take a provisionary summit selfie because I don't know. I don't think I'm going to be bushwhacking through this if it's this tough all the way around. All right, so now I'm on the south side of the summit. Still kind of looking around. So if I push my way up there, that would probably just get me to near where I was before, which isn't really going to do me any good. I'm trying to see if there's a way I can access the summit. Not really seeing any good options from here, actually, to be honest with you. Here's another oracle oak here. This oracle oak's leaves are even less lobed. This one's got even less lobing on this leaf, so this is another oracle oak right here. Yeah. Maybe I will go through this little passageway here. Okay, so I just came up from there. Just came around from there. I don't think this is going to offer me anything better. Yeah, this is going to lead me back to near where I came up before. I think. Let me scramble up these rocks and see. Yeah. If I had to guess, probably since that trip report, it was put out by a gentleman named, he's got a webpage named 100 Peaks. His name is Derek Loringer, and he blogs his peak climbs. And his trip report was from 2011, I believe. So I think 13 plus years is definitely long enough for this growth to really come into play. So I'm not going any higher than this. I'm going to call it a summit here. So kind of was hoping to actually get to the high point, but I was kind of wondering if the chaparral was going to be this insane. The thought did run through my mind. I didn't just assume that it would be the same as it was in 2011. That's 13 years of growth, so that's enough for these shrubs to really knit a path. And I don't feel like trying to bushwhack through this. See this? Nah, I'm not trying to do that. I'm good. So I'm gonna just call this my high point for the day. And so this is basically East Mesa, peak 5178. I think it's only a negligible difference in elevation between here and the highest point. Between here and the highest point is probably only maybe about 5 feet or so. So I'm gonna call it this, and I'm gonna be good with this. So I'll still label it as summit time, but know that I didn't touch the actual true high point. But on a really interesting note, what I'm gonna not bushwhack through, look at these scrub oaks. These are neat. I love how these have some lobes in their leaves too. I love when scrub oaks do that. They look so cool when their leaves kind of get a slightly lobed look to them. They're so cool. I love when scrub oaks do that. And then we got Palmer ceanothus up here too. Ceanothus palmeri. So I'm going to point out views, but I'm going to point them down on the way back as I'm going down the hill. You're not going to get a 360 up here. Even if I were at the true summit, it's going to be hemmed in by chaparral. So I'm going to do the summit I'm going to do one more little summit selfie thing. I guess the elevation I've gained and lost to get to this point is about the elevation gain. Well, actually, probably a little bit more than the elevation gain than if I were to just go to the summit and actually chance bushwhacking through here and possibly running into poison oak in between the shrubs. So that's another thing. I'm good on that. All right, that's enough yapping. Time for one more summit selfie. And I guess, okay, this is it. East Mesa Peak 5178. Just a few feet off from it, but close enough for me. Alright, so I'm probably going to have to point out the views in a series of clips. I will start off with a roughly almost 180 degree vantage point here. Start by looking over to the west-northwest. That is the crown jewel, the bird's eye view of Cuyamaca Rancho State Park. Again, I pointed out earlier, Cuyamaca Peak, 6,512. That's Cuyamaca Peak right there. So we're going to swing it over to the southwest between the oaks. And there's good old Viejas Mountain reigning over Alpine. And I can kind of see the peaks of Mission Trails Regional Park in the haze. Off to the right there, I can see Coles Mountain. Okay. Really hard to see, but there's a ridge here in Cuyamaca Rancho. But behind the ridge, there's a little bump. It's Poser Mountain, which I don't even be able to see it on camera. It's down and to the left a little bit from Viejas Mountain. It's just east of Viejas Mountain near Alpine. Okay, so now I'm looking at Oaksanita Peak right there. If you go to the East Mesa Fire Road, that's also another option if you want a slightly longer version of it. Or if you want to loop it, you can loop it by going up the lower Descanso, upper Descanso, Oaksanita Peak, then down the East Mesa Fire Road. You can make a loop out of it, an 8-mile loop, I believe, which would be something maybe in the future that I would do. And then in front of it is the one ridge line I've been pointing out, Peak 4960. Again, it's not on Peak Bagger. It doesn't have a spot elevation on the topo. It's just an elevation ring. And the actual summit elevation is probably close to 4,983 feet, I believe, was what I saw on Google Earth. All right. Then we got way off in the distance. I'm going to zoom way out. I'm going to zoom it harder now. Okay. To the right is Lions Peak. Then just to its left is Gaskill Peak. And you might be able to point out the slight point of Lawson Peak. And then we got the San Isidro Mountains over by the border with Otay Mountain, that top point there, just to the right of center. And then there's Guatay Mountain right out there. Sorry about that. Guatay Mountain is that ridge back there. That's Guatay Mountain near Descanso and Guatay. And then there, I can zoom back. Now we're looking south-southeast. There's Sug Peak, and there's Sug Peak's satellite peak. And then that's looking southeast towards the Chaparral. So we do get a kind of almost a 180. You can probably see more of the coastal peaks or go down a little bit. And I'm going to point those out. Don't worry, I'll point them out when I get out of the line of trees here. And I'm going to start moving my way down. Okay, here we go. Didn't have to move very far to do that. I believe that's the Upper Green Valley area. The Upper Green Valley area. The Lower Green Valley area over there is down that way, over by Green Valley Campground, which is somewhere down there. Can't see it from here. But then we can see some of the other peaks of San Diego County. Some good views here. I do apologize. Pay attention a little bit more. Off in the haze, the peaks of Mission Trails Regional Park. I can see North Fortuna Mountain. I can see the 52 freeway. El Cajon Mountain in the background with those granite cliffs on the south side. And I think that's Rock Mountain over there. It might be Rock Mountain. Maybe. And then I can see the Powell Range. I can even see Black Mountain by Rancho Penasquitos. I can't really see it too well from here, but that peak off to the right is North Iron Mountain. But on the far right, you can barely see it poking out of that slope there, is Woodson Mountain. And then Iron Mountain's in the center. And way off is Black Mountain in Rancho Penasquitos. And that's looking west. All right. I'm going to start descending this now. I'm also going to look for a place to break open a water. I haven't drank any water yet. I haven't really been super hot. So what I'm going to do is, I guess I'm going to try to stay between the shrubs and the oaks on my way back. So I'm going to start heading southwest, and then I'm going to bank off northwest to keep me close to the same track as how I got up. So I can more easily map this out on Google Earth when I do my hiking map. When I hit the highest point, But I would literally have to be a small rodent to get through all that. I'm good. Alright, enough yapping. Time for some descending. We got a blue elder here, Sambuca caerulea. See, up here at this elevation, they're dormant for winter. So they'll probably leaf out early. Yeah, Sambuca caerulea. Very handsome shrub, too. And, of course, the black oaks up here are quite beautiful as well. Kind of like a... This is kind of a... Almost... I would say, yeah, I would say this is maybe a little bit denser than your typical savanna. But this is kind of like a savanna type woodland here. Now, these black oaks, of course, they're leafless because it's winter. They're deciduous. There's just some pretty handsome black oaks too. I believe these all survived the cedar fire. I don't really see as much burn damage. I think there was some, probably I would say some flames licked their way up here, but it doesn't appear that it was as crazy as I'd say 95% of the rest of the park. But I'm starting to head more of a west direction. So I'm definitely off track from where I came up. That's for sure. So I'm kind of coming down a different way. But it's pretty picturesque up here. I love this little oak savanna up here. Occasionally mixed in with a Jeffrey pine or two. And some shrubs poking up. It's very beautiful. This is definitely worth a few pictures. All right, so I'm definitely off the track. I'm definitely heading more west. So by heading more west, I'm definitely more to the south of the way I ascended this knoll. So I'm just gonna have to just work my way down to that gully. If I work down, I'll be fine. I'm not worried about getting lost. I kind of wanted to keep a consistent track so I can, not break too much trail. Not that I'm worried. Like I said, not that I'm worried about getting lost. It's just it's a little less, stepping off and stuff. Just slightly less impactful. But I do hike with at least a modicum of care. Pay attention where I'm going. But I did have to go off trail to get to this point, so I have to go off trail to get back to the point where I left the trail. For this time, I'm probably going to be significantly ahead of where I left the trail. So this is going to be more, maybe a slightly triangular shaped route. Oh, maybe not. Alright, I'm going to head down this way. This looks a little better. Over here, I'm going to have to pop through logs and maybe scramble some rocks. Alright, so I'm definitely close to that shrub that I kept pointing out, the one that's leaning over that little pathway. I thought I was going to end up south, even further south of it, but I'm actually heading directly towards it. So I kind of went up. I started going up somewhere over there, started going up and around that way, and I ended up going around up that way towards the high part, and then got off track on the way back, and I thought I was actually further that way than it really was. I actually ended up closer to that shrub, which has been my landmark for a nice chunk of this hike. Pretty crazy, pretty crazy. So Well, the navigation part of this hike is pretty much over. It's just follow the little game or use trail or pathway, whatever you want to call it, back to the Harvey Moore Trail, to the grass trail, and then to the East Mesa Fire Road. And it's just hiking that all the way back until I catch a really tiny 50-yard segment of the East Side Trail. So there I am, joining this little ditch, this little culvert, and there it is. Time to work my way back this way. Be back on trail the rest of the way. Alright, so you know you're just about back at the Harvey Moore Trail when you see that little post right there in this notch. So this is the Harvey Moore Trail. So we're back on trail now. So I gotta go head up that way for a little bit. So I actually have some uphill. So yep, this is a little unmarked post. You know, and you see that knoll over there, the Jeffrey pine on the right side, and then the oak woodland over there. Yeah, definitely no way in heck I'm going to be trying to go for 5185, which is a little bit, I think, northeast of here. I think I'm going to stay away from that. So I'm just going to take this gentle uphill trail, get back to the grass trail, follow the grass trail, then get on the East Mesa Fire Road, and it's just cruising on a fire road the rest of the way back. Except for, like I said, a really short walk on a east side single track trail. Alright, enough yapping, more walking. Alright, so I'm not that far from the junction of the grass trail. So yeah, there's East Mesa 5178. Now, there's our Laguna Mountain Range right there. Right there. Wonder if that's Wooded Hill up ahead. I'll have to check it out. Could be Wooded Hill over there. Looks like there's some smoke on the crest of the lagunas. Wonder if there's a prescribed burn over there. That's a different agency than this. This is California State Parks, Colorado Desert Division. That over there is Cleveland National Forest, Descanso Ranger District. So it's different. Alright. So I see the signs just up ahead. Just about to rejoin the grass trail. That'll go a short distance. Then I'll be back on the East Mesa Fire Road. So today's hike's going to be more or less an out and back. I did have a little slight loop action up there. Yeah, I thought there would have been a way to get around the shrubs without having to full throttle bushwhack. And I'm not the type of guy who's going to cut a use trail, especially in a state park. So there we are, leaving the Harvey Moore Trail and jumping back on the grass trails. So just a little over a quarter of a mile, half a kilometer, about a half kilometer, we'll be back on the East Mesa Fire Road. So it's cool, at least I got up to near the summit. Yeah, it looks like there might have been a way to go up that way. But I don't know, yeah, it looks like the top of it's crowned with shrubs anyway, so probably be the same. So I'm not even really tripping anymore. I like to make it completely official, but that's as official as I'm going to let it be today. I'm not going to bushwhack more than light bushwhack. Alright, enough yapping, or senderismo, hiking. Alright, so through these pines, oaks, and manzanitas, I am just about done with that 0.3 mile, or half a kilometer, jaunt on the grass trail, and I am now joining the East Mesa Fire Road again, where I'm going to be turning right to continue my way back to the highway. But first, I kind of want to find a place to sit down and get something to drink. I don't really have a really monstrous uphill. I have a couple of small uphill pitches along the fire road, but I don't have anything major, so. But I do want to sit down and get something to drink. I am thirsty and my lips are dry. So that was the grass trail right there. So I'm going to be following the East Mesa Road all the way back to just about the highway. Well, actually, it will lead out to the highway, but I could either walk along the highway, the shoulder of the highway, or I'd rather walk on the east side trail for 50, 100 yards to get back to my car. So I'll stick to the single track. Thank you very much. All right, time to sit down. I'll see you on the way down. Like I said, I'm going to be heading that way. One thing you'll see a lot is native grass here. Muhlenbergia regens, deer grass. See a lot of that here. A lot of it. Definitely not going to be filming nearly as much on the way back because this is all already in the has been seen category. So just short updates here and there. Maybe a botany find. Maybe a wildlife sighting. Who knows? Pretty interesting. All right. Keep on track. Got these Jeffrey pines for a little while at least, which is nice. Well, that last picture I just took out towards that way, towards the Laguna Crest. Yeah, I wonder if that's a prescribed burn out there. You can see the plume of smoke in the center there. White thing sticking up. Yeah. I wonder if that's a prescribed burn. When I get home, I'll take a look and see. To see what that is. If there's any prescribed burn action in the Cleveland National Forest over there. Well, who knows? It does happen. Well, time to keep on ambling through. See where I am next. Alright. Passing the only group of people I've seen all day. Alright, so I'm passing by the Oaks Indian Trail once again. So, got just under 3 miles until it's back to the car. Yeah, group of people just behind me. Just before I bust out the camera to show off that junction there. Only group of people I've seen today. Pretty interesting. Alright, well, still working my way down. So I have just under 3 miles left before I get back to the car. And I'll see you down the way. Some of the other stuff I couldn't point out earlier on the peak, I couldn't really see it. Look at over there. Those two peaks. That's looking off towards, roughly towards the north, maybe slightly northwest. Left is Middle Peak, and the right, that craggy one, is Stonewall Peak. However, you can also see a part of North Peak right there. Stonewall goes down a lot more sharply, but you can see part of North Peak over there too. And those are just north of the Cuyamaca Peak area. north and northeast of Cuyamaca Peak, respectively. And of course, again, back in view of Cuyamaca and its satellite peak right there, Hapasha. Small bump on the left side. Yes. Pretty nice. Yeah, I think we're just about to leave all the pine trees behind. It was nice to be around them while we had them. But we'll be in and out of oak woodland, sometimes out in sun-baked chaparral. So there'll be some shade, and there'll be some sunny spots. So it's starting to warm up. I'd say it's probably in the mid-60s right now. But it might get up to as high as 71 today, I think. Which is actually quite warm for December. You usually think of being 70 degrees in the mountains. Got something neat coming up here too. Nice birds like mountain mahogany right here. What's that? This one shrub right there. The Cercocarpus betuloides, variety betuloides. That's a beauty. But yeah, so we just have a few of the sapling pines left, and then pretty soon we're going to be out of the pines altogether. Here's more of that birch leaf mountain mahogany right here. The leaves are birch-like, hence the name betuloides. And my camera's about to go, so I'll see you on my next clip. More updates. Getting ready to wind my way around another curve in the road. It's going to go this way, then it's going to curve and go contour along the side of this ridge here. So I'm just enjoying this bit of scenery. See some of those, still some pine trees up there, some Jeffrey pines. And yeah, this is some pretty top-notch scenic quality. I know some people who just don't like hiking roads. Yeah, I understand. You know, you want to feel more rugged and in nature, but this road's a gorgeous hike. Very beautiful hike, and you don't have to deal with off-roaders. They're not allowed. Traffic on here is not allowed at all. I would assume, with the exception of park personnel who might have to go up to some spots to repair something or do maintenance. But yeah, you're not going to have four-wheel drive, people blazing up, no motorbikes, dirt bikes, just hikers and horseback. And I think since this is a fire road, since this is an actual fire road, I think dogs are allowed on this. The regular single-track trails here in Cuyamaca, no. I think the campgrounds, yes. Campgrounds and fire roads, dirt roads, or the paved lookout road to Cuyamaca Peak, yes. So I think you could take your dog on this, and your dog's not going to suffer that much because it's very gentle terrain. Quite scenic. Again, red willow, Salvi's laevigata, with still a little touch of fall color left. So yes, I think your dog is allowed on this fire road, I believe. Double check, always double check to make sure if you're going to take your pet, because pets are restricted from the humongous vast majority of state park property. I think campgrounds are okay. And here in Cuyamaca, I'm pretty sure all the fire roads are okay. But like I said, do your diligence, double check, and you're not going to be taking your dog on the Harvey Moore Trail You're not going to take your dog on the other single tracks like the East Side Trail, West Side Trail. Your dog can't go on those. But I think the fire roads are okay. But we're going to switch to a sunnier south-facing exposure. Looks like it's going to start getting a little toasty momentarily. And I'll see you down the way. Beautiful country out here. Yeah, I told you earlier, all that stuff up there is white sage. White sage loves the hot sunny side of the hill. So, and I can feel a difference in the temperature. It's definitely warmer out here. All right, more hiking and more updates down the way. All right, it's time for a little roadside botany. Sorry for the sun glare, if there is sunny. Here we go, white-leaf Eastwood manzanita. Arctostaphylos glandulosa subspecies leucophylla. Yes, indeed. It's got that glaucous, or grayish, whitish green foliage. Glandular hairiness on it. And of course, common here in the Cuyamacas, especially more so in the lagunas, a couple of Ceanothus perplexans. Can't forget about this. Common chamise. Adenosoma fasciculatum, variety fasciculatum. Found to at least 6,200 feet here in the Laguna Mountains. We're in the Laguna Mountains here in San Diego County. We're in the Cuyamacas, but I haven't seen it that high near Cuyamaca Peak, though. I don't remember seeing it near that elevation at Cuyamaca, but it might be because I was on the other side of the peak. Maybe on the sunny south-facing side, it might grow up that high. It might grow up to close to the peak, maybe. But in Mount Laguna, it grows up to at least 6,200 feet on Monument Peak. It potentially could grow all the way up to the top of Cuyapaipe at 6,380 something. Yeah, it used to be on the topo. It says 6,378, but I think Peak Bagger has it 6,385. So it might be found all the way to the top of that. But I've never done Cuyapaipe, which is the highest point in the lagunas, but it's not in the Cleveland National Forest. It's in the, I believe, the Cuyapaipe or Cuyapaipe Indian Reservation land. And to hike there, you have to actually get permission from the tribe, from the tribal office. And I think you're supposed to do it in groups. You're not supposed to do it solo, I think, if I understood correctly. But yeah, chamise might grow up that high over there. I mean, I've seen it at 6,700 feet in Riverside County on the Desert Divide along the PCT. So it could grow all the way up there. But yeah, these canyon views are pretty stellar. Yeah, this canyon right here. Very beautiful canyon. We're above it. Down below, nice and shady down there, but probably tangles of poison oak everywhere. So we're safer up here in the warmer chaparral, but it's warm, but it's not really super hot. The sun reflecting off of the soil makes it feel much warmer than it actually is, probably. But it's probably getting close to 70 by now, but it's still not too bad. Oh well. I'm gonna be on the south slope for a little while, but a little bit further down I should be back in the woodland for a while, so I'll be back in the shade soon. But yeah, it's not too bad out right now, and I'll take the comfortable weather when I have it. It's too bad there wasn't a good way to get up there that I know. That'd be an interesting random unnamed peak that I would want to climb, but it's all bushwhack from all angles I can see, so I'm good. All right, see you on the next update. Should be down in that canyon pretty soon, probably under the shade of those oaks pretty soon, if I remember correctly. Yep, just like I figured, right back in the shade of the oaks. I was running that sunny slope. So yep, I'm back in the oaks. We got some scarlet bugler growing here too. Right there. Penstemons and Tranthifolius. Yes, indeed. We're back in the oaks. Very peaceful. Very peaceful in these woodlands. It's very cruisy downhill. Very cruisy. I think the route I took from the East Mesa staging area was probably a more direct route. I know there were other options I was entertaining, such as parking at Hopashaw. I don't know. It might have been pretty close. I would have literally hiked along to the Harvey Moore trailhead at the big, I think it's the Sweetwater staging area. It's the big one where you have to pay to park. I'd literally have to hike along the highway from Hopashaw to that. And I think the Harvey Moore Trail starts from there, I believe, and works its way out towards where I was, which would have kept me on single track most of the day. Actually, single track most of the day, except for the whole cross country I did. Very nice. That was almost the way I was going to go, but I saw that this would probably be a little bit more a little easier logistically, so I decided to take this instead, and I'm fine with it. Very cruisy fire road on the way back, and I'll see you with more updates and points of interest. All right, so I'm getting ready to go down the series, very short little series of sharp switchbacks. Man, sorry about the sun glare. Let me see if I can. Look at that grandstand view of Oaks Anita Peak. And if you look underneath it, you can kind of see the Upper Descanso Trail cutting through it. I had to move that away because I didn't want to blind anybody. But yeah, you'll see the Lower Descanso Creek Trail. You can kind of see that line. That's the Lower Descanso Creek Trail. Upper Descanso Creek Trail. The upper Descanso Creek Trail. And that's what I was taking on my way up to Oaks Anita Peak when I did it back in April 2023. Great rainy year, great rainy season. It was April 10th or April 11th, one of those two. I think it was April 11th or April 10th. And it was kind of unseasonably warm day too. It was a little bit warmer than this actually, a couple degrees. And boy, the water was just flowing everywhere. The grasses were all so emerald green. Stood a little early for the trees to leaf out. There were a few trees higher up on Oaks Anita that were starting to bud out, but most of the trees and shrubs were still pretty much leafless. They hadn't started budding out yet, like the sycamores and most of the black oaks. But yeah, that was a pretty good hike. If you want to check out that video, I did it out and back. I didn't do the loop version, which would have looped back on this, which would have made an 8-mile hike. All right, well, figured to point that out and keep on my descent. Still got a ways to go, I think. All right, so we're passing a junction here. Again, this is the Oak Trail, which also connects with the Harvey Moore Trail, which I'm not going to be doing. I have less than a mile left. 0.8 miles back to Highway 79. So I guess I was a little closer than I thought. cool. Getting tired, getting a little tired. It's the longest hike I've done in several months, so yeah, it's good to do it though. I'm really glad I did. It's got to be between 8.5 and 9 maybe. Like I said, I'm gonna check it out and you'll see the mileage on my map or my video opening. You'll see it on my statistics page. But very peaceful descent, very easy descent, very quiet. Here I can hear the crickets chirping off in the bushes. And I'll see you down the way. All right, so just about at the junction of the upper Descanso Creek Trail, the trail you saw me pointing out on the side of Oaksanita Peak. I got about half a mile left on trail before I get back. All right. See you at the next junction. And here we're passing the lower Descanso Creek Trail. Now I got 4/10 of a mile back. Should be back pretty soon. Okay, back at the gate, back at Highway 79. Just gonna make a quick little turn here onto the East Side Trail for a very short little stint. And I will be back at the car within a minute or two. Okay, so back at the East Mesa staging area. There's my car. There's the pullout. This one is free. The one up ahead at Harvey Moore, I think you have to pay $10. But here we are. This is going to basically do it for me. Thanks for coming along on this adventure. Glad to be able to take you guys along with me and make your own adventure out here at Cuyamaca Rancho State Park. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on my next hike.